Hello! I hope you guys are doing well. It's Twinklebutt here, and I wanted to make a little companion video to go with the big video I did on Orendi, just talking about how she works, her basics, her general playstyle, and then going into depth about the build, why we're taking certain choices, and how to get the most out of certain mutations. Now, before I go into this, I want to stress that I am by no means an Orendi master. This guide is just meant more as for people that just see the character and they're like, oh, but how does she work? How do I get into it? How do I really start playing? This guide is intended to get you on those first steps and get you started playing the character so you can form your own opinions about how to play her and what is the most efficient way, and yeah, get yourself in a really good spot with this character. Because I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times when I'm looking at guides, they're a little bit too in-depth for what I'm looking for, where I just want to get my feet wet and just start trying, and that's what this is about. So, without further ado, let's go over her basics, what she can do, what she can't do. Her left click, as you can see, throws out these chaos bolts one at a time in a fast order, and her right click throws out 4 charge bolts at the same time. Now, 2 of these from her 4-shot blast does the same damage as 1 fast shot, and I'll show you right here. So they're hitting for 30 each, so that's about 120 max, where that hits for 59. Now the thing is that with the left click, as you can see, I can get them out a lot faster than with the right click. So I feel like usually your best option is to use the left click like this. Now talking about her abilities, her first ability I want to talk about is Shadow Fire. As you can see there, she throws down a giant pillar and does a lot of damage. But the problem is that, as you can tell, it takes a little while for it to charge up. So you really have to make sure that you lead the shot. Otherwise, you're going to be a very sad panda. Her Q ability, Nullify, actually pushes her back. So you can use it offensively to chase people that are running away. You can use it defensively to just get away. But because of her passive, Gnosis, it reduces the cooldown on her Shadowfire pillar. So let me demonstrate. I'll throw it on a Shadowfire pillar here. It's on cooldown now. I nullify, and now suddenly it's up to 4 seconds. So sometimes the right decision is just to throw down your Nullify, even if there aren't any, there's no players to chase or things to get away from, simply to get out another Shadowfire faster. Because really, that's what this character is all about. She is all about her Shadowfire pillars and using them to just wreck enemy minion lanes. And when I mean wreck, I mean decimate. With I'm not doing a very good job of showing it off here, but with the right amount of practice and enough experience, you can single-handedly take down a minion lane, and that is really, really powerful. And then, with even more practice, you can hit other players with Shadowfires. Now, the problem is that these bots are a bad example because they're not really reacting. Enemy players can see your Shadowfire pillars and actually react to them. So your best bet usually is to go and hit from behind. Now her ultimate, which I just showed you right there, Paradigm Shift, she takes a second to create an incantation in the air, and then she unleashes a big blast in a column in front of her. And the thing is that because it takes a second to charge up, and it does good damage, but it's not enough to like one-hit kill someone. You really want to try to save it, like I did there, to hit targets that are, well, basically you want to try to hit targets that are already wounded, either because you landed a Shadowfire pillar on them, or because your teammates actually wounded them. And it's a really, 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 really good way to finish someone off that's just running away. And it hits multiple targets, so if your enemy players are grouped up together, you can actually hit a lot of them and do a lot of damage. It's very, very powerful. Now to talk about Orendi's like general playstyle, what you want to do is just focus, at least at first, while you're learning the character, you want to focus on hitting enemy minion lanes, giving them as much trouble as you can, and clearing stuff out as efficiently as possible. Orendi is really fragile, and other than her Nullify and the mutations that augment it, she doesn't really have a lot of survivability or defensive options. So your best, you have to be aware of that, and if there's any enemy like assassins, it's very easy for them to jump on you and just wreck you if you're out of place. So be in place, use her range for your advantage, and don't put yourself in a place where you can't get out of if you have to. So what you want to do is just focus on going from lane to lane to lane and destroying the enemy minions with your Shadow Fire. And then, with practice, you can actually learn how to hit other players. Now, like I said, that's a little bit more difficult, but once you can do it, you can actually start putting out some serious damage. But your priority should be always just trying to get experience by pushing that enemy minion lane forward, because ultimately, it doesn't matter how many kills you're getting. What matters is where the lane is, because this game, the victory conditions is all based on the objective play, not necessarily the kills, even though they do give experience. Now, I think I actually managed to achieve level 10 in this bot game, so I'm going to run back here where they can't interrupt me, and I'm going to talk about the different choices that we're going to make in this build and why we're making them and how they affect our playstyle. So, our level 1 mutation, we pick Fire Walk with Me, and the reason we take that is because Burned and Busted kind of sucks. But it actually is a pretty useful ability. What it does is it puts a little trail of fire on the ground, and anything standing in it takes a little bit of damage from it. And so you can use this. You won't get a lot of PvE use out of it. I mean, you won't get a lot of like players running into it because they're usually smart enough just to run away. But you can use it in combination with your Shadow Fire pillar on enemy minion lanes to decimate them and start wrecking. It's an excellent addition. For her number 2, we're gonna take. So I recommend taking I Hate Your Pretty Eyes, which if you hit anyone with the initial blast of your Nullify, and I don't mean like, I mean like wham, that little point blank part, it actually blinds them. It's very, very good against melee assassins on the enemy team that jump in your face and give you a lot of trouble. You can throw that down and it'll buy you a second to get away and escape. Now, once you've had a little bit more experience with her, Dismissed, which adds a push effect to Nullify, is actually a really, really good alternative, and I prefer that once I've had some more experience with Orendi. And the reason is because when you're fighting enemy minions, you'll notice that they kind of disperse. They don't stay together, and so they'll usually walk out of the effect of your Shadow Fire blast. You can actually knock them back in with your Nullify, which it's really, so then you're grouping them all together and they take a lot of damage. And then you also have the flame effect from the first level mutation going on. It's really, really powerful. But as you're learning this character, take I Hate Your Pretty Eyes. It'll give you a bit more defense. For her level 3 mutation, take Oh That Reminds Me. What that will do is that'll cause her Nullify to actually keep her shields going. And I mean, they don't keep her shields going, but they actually cause her shields to start regenerating. So if your shields are down and you use it, then you'll immediately start regenerating. And at best, this is a way to get your shields completely back if you're in a bad situation, and at worst, you'll still get like an extra little bit of shield regeneration that no one can take away from you, even if you get hit immediately. So it's really a good way to offset her squishiness. For the level 4, we're going to take Preamble of Pain, and there's 2 reasons for this. One is what Encore does is it causes you to have to put down a second one, where the problem is that takes twice as much time because you have to cast 2 different Shadow Fire pillars. Whereas with Preamble of Pain, it's all the damage is there at once. So as you're going to be casting more, this build is focused on casting more and more and more Shadow Fire pillars. You want to be able to cast them quickly and not have to double cast them. So we take Preamble of Pain for that, and also because the damage over time component that's attached to it is instant. So even if your big damage burst from Shadow Fire misses, you'll still get that little bit of damage from just it being immediately active. So overall, it's the better choice. Now, for the level 5 mutation, we're going to take Prognostic Combo. And what that does is that applies her passive Gnosis to Nullify. And so what that means is that now, I will demonstrate. Now with this Prognostic Combo, I can't say it. With that selected, now it's not just whenever we use our Shadow Fire pillar. Whenever we use our Nullify, our Shadow Fire pillar's cooldown is reduced. Now, when we use our Shadow Fire pillar, we reduce the cooldown on our Nullify, which means ultimately we can get more Shadow Fires out. I think it's a really, really effective talent because, you know, Nullify is really useful. For level 6 mutation, easy, we're going to take Shadow Fury, get more Shadow Fire Pillar damage because that's what we're all about. For our level 7, we're going to take Force of Will because A, more damage is always nice, and B, the lifesteal that you get from Orendi's skills, I found, is not enough to keep her up in the heat of battle. So I feel like you're better off just going for as much damage as possible rather than trying to get more survivability, because the survivability you get out of Essence Theft really isn't that great. For her level 8 mutation, we're going to take Rapid Deterioration, and as we talked about, the more Nullifies that we can get out of there, the more Shadow Fire Pillars we can get out of there. And it's just a nice ability to have. For our level 9 mutation, we're going to take Shadow Firestorm. I don't have to say anything about this, but more Shadow Fire Pillars is good, especially with our passive. So, enough said. And for this last one, for our level 10 mutation, we're going to take Reign of Chaos. And what this does is whenever we use our ultimate, it refreshes the cooldown on our Shadow Fire Pillar. So we can go Shadow Fire Pillar, Nullify, Shadow Fire Pillar, Ultimate, Paradigm Shift, Shadow Fire Pillar, Nullify, and then another Shadow Fire Pillar. That is a lot of Shadow Fire Pillars right there. Very powerful. Now, I have to be honest, I've never been able to land the full combo like that, because normally when I get to level 10, the game is over. And it takes practice to do that. But whenever you can, that is a lot of damage that you're working with. You could probably take down a sentry from full shields and full health to I don't know. I feel like you could do a lot of damage with that. And that's what she's all about. And it's really, really fun. I really recommend it. So I'm going to stop the video here. This is just a little addendum to the big video that I saw before. This is a perfect reference material. Thank you for watching. I hope you had a great day. I hope you had a fun time watching this. If you have any input or any kind of comment, I'd love to hear it. I love to get feedback on the direction that I'm going and ways to improve. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great day. Twinklebud out.